I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the November 13th Board of Education, full Board of Education meeting for the School District of Waukesha. I thought this was going to be the second meeting we'd have in the fall, but I think it's the first meeting we have in winter. So thank you all for coming down on such a cold, wintry day. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to start off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So will you please take the roll call?
William Baumgart.
Here.
Corey Montiel.
Here.
Greg Dietz.
Here.
Amanda Roddy.
Here.
Diane Voigt.
Here.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Here.
Kurt O'Brien. Karen Reinacek.
Here.
And Joseph Como.
Here. Kurt is excused this evening. Sue, would you also please verify that we've been properly posted with the media?
Yes, we have.
Thank you kindly. You always do that in a timely manner. So, we'd like to start off tonight with our bright lights. Carly Solberg will be presenting this evening, actually probably a team with Carly. She's our Prairie Elementary principal. What do you think?
Comment.
Okay. Yes or no?
They're here. They're here.
Okay.
Stage fright.
Stage fright.
There they go.
Hi, Carly. That was actually added some drama.
Do
you notice
we were waiting for
our
the
audience is
invitation.
well behaved, and they're really waiting for you. Oh, I think this is definitely worth the wait.
So you're just going to have to talk really loud, okay?
Welcome, boys and girls.
Right. So thank you for having us. I'm Carly Solberg, and I'm the principal at Prairie. Over there. And I'm the principal at Prairie. And we are here to talk to you about social emotional learning at Prairie. And we've got quite a big team. We've got 2 third graders up here, Grace and Jackson, and 2 of our 5th graders, Bella and Matthew, and then a whole slew of our Prairie staff members. What led us to this point this year was taking a look at our behavior data this summer. We noticed that our students weren't yet able to identify their feelings or regulate their emotions. And so that led us to the right-hand side of our theory of action that talks about universal social emotional learning for all students so that they're able to self-regulate and form positive relationships. And we do that through zones of regulation, second step, and playworks. And that's what's going to be explained to you.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm the school psych at Prairie. And I just want to talk for a minute about the purpose of SEL. And we know that it's important for a variety of reasons. And I'm really glad to see that it's becoming a priority in this district. Self-regulation is a lifelong skill that everyone continually works on, whether we're aware of it or not. We all encounter challenging circumstances that test our limits from time to time. If we can recognize when we are becoming less regulated, we're able to do something about it, like use a coping strategy to help manage our feelings and to return to a happy and healthy place. Continuous or prolonged states of dysregulation could lead to detrimental physiological and psychological consequences. And there's a ton of research to support this too. Research by Durlock from 2011, Farrington in 2012, demonstrate their short-term benefits and long-term benefits of implementing universal SEL programs at the elementary level. For example, some of those short-term benefits are positive attitudes, enhanced confidence and empathy, positive relationships with peers and adults, decreased emotional distress, and improved test scores. And one study even showed that implementing universal SEL in elementary school led to an 11-point percentile increase in academic achievement. Some other long-term effects include increased likelihood of graduation, readiness for post-secondary education and career success, positive family and work relationships, better mental health, reduced criminal behavior, and overall engaged citizenship. So there's a ton of research and benefits to SEL, and I'm really proud to be a part of this team at Prairie.
Yeah. My name is Heidi Edwards. I'm one of the elementary school counselors. I focus mainly on the universal piece. How do we get our students to learn these skills that they need to be successful, like Andrew was talking about? And one way that we do that is through the Second Step program, which was currently implemented K-4 all the way through 8th grade. So kids are learning some of the same language, some of the same tools to help them calm down and problem solve. So if you look at the posters that are up there, it teaches kids specific skills and techniques that they can use, specific coping strategies. And again, if they're moving from class to class, from year to year, they have the same language and the same system that really helps them to be successful. There's also our problem-solving steps that, again, help them to socially think and become aware. Second step really highlights skills for learning, so what it looks like to be a learner. It builds empathy, which again is a powerful tool to prevent things like exclusion and bullying. It teaches emotional management techniques and then those social problem solving skills. So there's a song link in there, but I'll save you guys from that, and you'll be singing it all night. But very interactive for the kids.
My name is Emily Swinsky, and I'm a special education teacher at Prairie. This year, we have implemented the Zones of Regulation for K through 5th grade. The Zones of Regulation is a curriculum that is designed to help students self-regulate and identify their emotions. So if you look up on the screen, there are 4 zones in the Zones of Regulation, and each zone has the emotions, and they are different colors. So Grace and Jackson are going to tell you a little bit about each of the zones.
The zones I am going to talk about are the blue and green zone. Some tools to stay in the green zone is calming music or talking to a friend. And some feelings in the green zone are happy, calm, and ready to learn. Some tools in the blue zone is a body scan, stress ball, and a comfy chair. Some feelings in the blue zone is sad, sick, or tired.
The zones that I am talking about are yellow and red. When you are in the yellow zone, you might be feeling frustrated, silly, nervous, or you're not listening well. When you're in the red zone, it's out of control, elated, and aggressive. Some tools to help you get out of the yellow and red zone is Crazy 8 breathing, octagon breathing, aka six-sided breathing, also wall pushing too. Zen zone, you could use the Zen zone or you can play outside at home.
The zones of regulation help you by if you are in the blue zone, you can tell a teacher how you are feeling. Also, it helps you when you are in the green zone, stay happy and calm. I like the zones of regulation because you get to express your feelings. Like when you are in the blue zone, you can write or talk about your feelings.
Zones have helped me is the colors. When I was feeling frustrated, I tried to calm myself down by doing six-sided breathing. So it's like green is happy, blue is depressed, kind of like the movie Inside Out if you think about it.
And it is okay for students to go through all of the different zones in a day. They feel many emotions throughout the day. We're here to help them find the tools and strategies so they're doing it in a safe and healthy way so they can return to their learning. And Shayna is going to talk about how we have taken zones universally at our school.
I'm Shayna Gaglione, a special ed teacher at Prairie, and we have worked really hard to implement zones of regulation at a universal level, like Emily said, 4K through 5th grade. And one way we do that, over the summer when we were creating our classroom schedules, we made sure to that all grade levels had a set time throughout their day for social emotional learning, so the teachers could teach the zones of regulation explicitly to their students, and students had time to practice those skills that they were learning. We also have a social emotional learning committee throughout our staff where we meet once a month and we look at our data across our school and our students and how they're using the zones of regulation, any patterns we're noticing, and kind of next steps that we can take for our instruction to help them succeed with their feelings and emotions. In each grade level, we have what we call a Zen zone, which is an area for students to go and utilize whenever they are in any of those zones, specifically the yellow and red zones. And we have a bucket that is full of our universal tools that some of them have come out through the Social Emotional Learning Committee that teachers have used to teach their students strategies. So those strategies and materials are in this bucket, and when students go to the Zen Zone, they know that these are their strategies that they've learned in class and that are successful for them to continue and get ready back to their learning.
Hi, I'm Michelle Herenda, and I am a recess coach for Playworks at Prairie. I have worked with Playworks for the last 4 years and have seen how successful this program can be. I love this program and what it does for our playground and for the kids. This is my second month at 2.5 months at Prairie, and I've already seen a change in the kids and how they are interacting in the language that's being used out on the playground, and just the overall J factor, the joy factor that we're having. Let's see, as far as my role, I'm out there playing with the kids and building relationships and having fun, and that in itself is it's a joy for me and it's a joy for them. The building relationship part is probably my favorite part. Already in 2 months, I have a new nickname. What's my nickname? Kobe. I've been playing a lot of basketball outside, so I have the nickname Kobe now. So, I mean, to me, that makes me happy, and that shows Playworks at its best. I'm here with 2 of our Playworks junior coaches, and they're the ones that are really bring the J factor out onto the playground with our younger kids. So Matthew is going to talk to us about how Playworks is making the difference on the playground.
Playworks has made our school a better place because it's more fun because the games being offered and taught by the Playworks in Playworks time. It's safer and more inclusive because the kids don't really think about their problems, and when they do, teachers help the kids solve their own problems with the how to deal wheel.
And Isabel is going to tell us about her role as a junior coach.
My role as a junior coach is to show responsibility for the younger, leadership for everybody, friend to others, and a problem solver. For example, there were 2 students playing hot shot soccer, and they were having a little argument. And one of the students didn't want to use our coping strategies like the deal wheel. So the other student was being the bigger person and walked to the end of the line. But when he got there, I gave him a high five and said, "Great job for being a role model for your students and a bigger person." Now we want to help you prepare to stay in the green zone for the rest of the school board meeting. We're going to teach you how to take a belly breath. First, you have to find a comfortable place to sit or stand. Make sure your feet are flat on the ground and sit up as straight as you can. Place one hand on your chest and the other hand on your belly. Breathe through your nose for 4 seconds. Feel your belly expand. Hold your breath for 1 second, then slowly exhale out of your mouth for 4 seconds. Feel your belly go in. Now I want you to practice 3 belly breaths on your own.
Thank you.
We have any questions for Mr. Bumgard?
It's more of a comment.
Sure.
And I appreciate you ending it with trying to get us in the green zone. Because because it is important that you know that this goes on through life. You know, adults too can have their sad times or their frustrated times and things like that. But you're getting prepared for it, and we're glad to see that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Corey?
Thank you. Just a comment to the students. You're in third grade and fifth grade? Third graders on the outside, fifth in the middle? You did a great job. I don't know if you were nervous, but you didn't look like it at all. So people sometimes ask me what's the favorite part of my job doing this. I'm doing it right now. To get to see you guys do this, it's great. So it speaks great about the work you've put in this year, about your teachers and your administrators and your parents. So you should be very proud. Good job.
Anybody else? I have a question for the junior coaches. So for the junior coaches, if you could hand the junior coaches the microphone. Thank you, Grace. Was wondering, how were you selected, or did you volunteer to do this, or how did you become a junior coach, I guess is the question.
Become a junior coach by there's a form you have to sign, and your parents have to agree with it. And if you're picked, it is some of the better kids that probably know that they have a lot of strategies to know how to teach little kids games.
So why did you choose to do this?
I chose to do this to help with the little kids, because each of my brothers are in each class, so I get to also hang out with them and hang out with them more too, and help with the little kids.
I wanted to do this because I like seeing little kids learn new games and have fun outside at recess.
Yeah, those are great reasons, very great reasons for doing that. And thank you for your leadership on that. And thank you for your presentations tonight. You guys were excellent. I have a really good understanding of what's going on now. So thank you. Now we have to remember the strategy we learned tonight throughout our meeting. Let's be in the green zone. Moving on to our recognitions, Sharon Thede will be presenting one recognition tonight.
Hello, good evening. So I'm doing the Employee Recognition Award, and this evening the award for November of 2019 is being presented to Nancy Ronke. So Nancy, come on up. So Nancy started in the school district of Waukesha in 1997. Her nominators began by stating that Dr. Nancy Ronke goes above and beyond in her duties as an instructional coach at Horning Middle School in supporting teachers and students. Nancy is a tireless worker and a staunch advocate for meeting the needs of all learners. Her love of learning is evident as she stays current with research and instructional practices. Nancy is a strong advocate for ensuring that students have a voice in their learning. Even while planning for professional learning for staff, Nancy voices the importance of having students be a part of this process. Nancy has been instrumental in the implementation of professional learning communities at Horning. Additionally, her work with teachers around the comprehensive literacy model has resulted in improvement in student achievement for students at Horning. Nancy has been an active member of Horning's SAIL team and the visioning teams. Her contribution to the restructuring of Horning's house model has led to improved outcomes for students. Nancy takes initiative in her duty as an instructional coach at Horning. A recent example of this includes spearheading the culturally responsive team at Horning. She has taken a lead role in examining equitable learning practices for all students. With the help of Nancy's leadership and persistence, the team has worked closely with adults in the building in examining their own biases and ensuring that Horning provides experiences and instructions that are culturally relevant for all students. Nancy strives for excellence in everything she does. So on behalf of the School District of Waukesha, I would like to congratulate Nancy Ronke on being selected to receive the Waukesha School District Employee Recognition Award.
You're in the green zone, right?
Nancy's always in the green.
I really want to thank you. When I stepped into Horning Middle School about 23, 24 years ago, I just instantly felt at home. Horning Middle School is a really special place. There's really brilliant teachers there, excellent students. So I definitely invite all of you to come in and see the classrooms in action. And Waukesha School District has a really special place in my heart too, because they challenge me and just make me a better person, better mom, better wife, better teacher. So thank you very much. Really appreciate this.
Thank you, Nancy. You're wearing the green zone. Moving on to the section of our meeting where we listen to our citizens address us. As it has been past practice, we allow up to 3 minutes for each speaker. At the 2.5 minute mark, Amanda.
No West students tonight?
Oh, I'm
skip the West
sorry. I skipped ahead in the agenda. My apologies. Do we have Izzy and Matthew from Waukesha West here tonight? I hope you guys don't get out of the green zone and go into the red zone. Sorry about that.
No worries.
What's happening at West?
Yep.
I do that sometimes.
So I'm Matthew Langer.
I'm Izzy Zindler, and we're just gonna, as you said, go over some of the stuff that's been happening so far at West this year. We'll start with some academic achievements that students at West have done this year. As you guys have heard, we have 3 National Merit Scholars in the senior class, and the West community is very proud of their achievements.
And then in February, the senior class took the ACT, and we had almost 30 students get a 30 or above on their ACT test.
Next, we'll be talking about the sports and activities at West this year. So we'll start with boys volleyball. This is the boys volleyball state qualifying team. They had a historic season this year. They've never made it to the state tournament before, and they did for the first time this year. So West was very excited about that. They did not win state, but they definitely had an amazing season.
Next for girls cross country, the girls cross country team made it to state again. This was the 24th time they have made it to state, which is very impressive. And they took 8th place out of 120 Division I teams.
Next, we have football. Last week, they won their game, which put them into the semifinals game. That will be this Friday, where they'll be playing Waunakee, and if they win, then they will progress on to state. So the school is very excited about that.
Next up with marching band. The marching band had their state competition in October, and they received 3rd place in the state competition for their division and 5th place overall out of about 29 other bands.
Next, we have swim and dive. The girls swim and dive team got 4th overall at sectionals. 5 girls qualified for state for the 200 medley relay race and the 200 free relay race. The team was made up of Becca Beam, Campbell Hilson, Claire Wright, and Ava Miller, with Zoe Ferentz as their alternate, so they will be competing at state this weekend.
And last up for the activities and sports section, the West Drama Department had their one-act play sectionals this weekend, and they received the highest score out of all the other 19 plays and will also be competing in the state competition.
Next, we'll be talking about some special events that either have happened at West or are coming up. To start with, we'll talk about Ignite Day and Welcome Week. This is run by the Ignition program at West, which is a freshman mentoring program. So before the first week of school, there is an all freshman day when the incoming freshman class comes to West and they get to work with mentors and look around the school and interact with each other so that they know some of their classmates coming in if they maybe don't know other people that are coming to West. And then the first week of school in the morning, they have mini lessons from their mentors about how things work at West so that they are able to start off their high school experience on a good note. So we started our school year with that.
And then soon after, in September, we had the Homecoming Week, which is run by Student Council. And during Homecoming, we have a Spirit Week, and we go through multiple dress-up days, such as Pajama Day. And our theme for Homecoming this year was the decades. So we had decades such as the 80s and 90s. And we also had a pep rally on Friday, which was fun, as it always is. And we had a tug-of-war competition, which is an annual thing, and the senior class won, which was very exciting. And then to wrap up the week, we had the homecoming dance on Saturday, which was also a good time.
Next, we'll be talking about a couple of kind of community outreach events that West does. First, we have the blood drive. This is run by Student Council. We have 2 blood drives per year. This one was last month. It was in the middle of October, and we had about 80 participants from the students and staff. So this is something that the Student Council coordinates with the Blood Center in Waukesha so that we can help those who need it in the community.
Next up for the Interact Club. The Interact Club is a service and volunteer club at West, and this year the Interact Club's theme was helping the homeless. And so their annual rummage sale, which is a very big rummage sale in the Waukesha community, raised $1,800 for both the guest house and the NAMI Homeless Outreach Center.
Then we have some upcoming events. So the Ignition program, which is the freshman mentoring program, works with the Christmas Clearinghouse every year to adopt children from local families whose families can't afford to get them presents for Christmas. So they have been fundraising, and then coming up, they'll start shopping for gifts, sorting them into the different families, wrapping them and delivering them to those families so that they can have, those children can have the Christmas that they deserve to have. Additionally, Student Council runs a blood drive before Christmas break, or not a blood drive, sorry, a food drive before Christmas break. This is the food pantry's biggest donation every year. We collect both from the student body and the staff, as well as from the neighborhoods surrounding West, so that we can get as much food for those who need it in the community as possible.
And then finally, we are planning a winter pep rally in the month of December, and it is run by WLA, which is our Wolverine Leadership Academy at West, which is like a service club at West. So we work to help the Waukesha West community and better our culture at West. So our pep rally is going to focus on spreading some holiday cheer before our winter break. And then some winter sports are starting now and relatively soon. So boys swim, boys and girls basketball, wrestling, gymnastics, boys and girls hockey, and the ski and snowboarding clubs will be starting soon.
Thank you.
What questions might we have of what's going on at West? Bill?
One of the things that we always like to hear, if you have your college plans yet. If you don't, you don't.
I'll go first. I just finished applying. My goal is to go to Madison.
Go where?
Madison.
Oh, okay.
I also finished applying, and my goal is to go to Madison as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Well, thank you for that, keeping us informed what's happening at West, and we'll see you in another few months.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay, now I think it's time to listen to our citizens address the Board of Education. As in the past, we allow up to 3 minutes, and at the 2.5-minute mark, Amanda will give you a signal, and if you could wrap up in the next 30 seconds, that would be wonderful. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language in any manner, and be respectful in their comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future Board of Education meetings. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and the Board of Education and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that will detract from the meeting. Also, in order to respect our speakers, please silence your phones at this time if you haven't done so already. We do have 7 people that have signed up, and Raquel Kozalek? Did I murder your name? Rochelle?
Okay. Yeah, Rochelle.
Sorry.
That's okay. So my name is Rochelle Kozalik, and I am a business education teacher at Butler Middle School and have been teaching in the district since 2011. I'm here tonight to address the proposal from the 3 middle school principals to reallocate minutes resulting in a reduction of elective time for 8th grade students. It's no secret that students are successful when they have the opportunity to apply their learning in elective courses, and there's a lot of data out there that shows that. In fact, at last meeting, teaching and learning meeting, there was information that was shared that Waukesha has a long-standing tradition of offering elective opportunities that have resulted in our students earning the most transcripted dual credit during high school in Waukesha County. Accomplishments like that are possible because students have the opportunity to gain fundamental skills in middle school, allowing them to be better prepared in high school. Time in electives should not be looked at as a negative, but rather celebrated. According to 2019 data from the National Assessment of Educational Progress, test scores in 8th grade are dropping nationwide. However, even with this drop across the country, our school report card at Butler has increased. Additionally, our staff has just recently learned about a DPI scoring rubric used on the forward exam. Based on that learning, some real purposeful professional development can be done for both core and elective teachers to help us infuse strategies to ensure our students are ready and can be fairly assessed on the test. Instead of reducing elective minutes, let's allow time for this specific interdisciplinary literacy to take place in our core and elective classes. I again commend the 3 principals for working together and recognizing improvements in test scores are needed and taking action to try and meet the hefty goal placed before them. In closing, I feel a pause is needed on this proposal to get data and feedback. Let's get data from this year's forward exam now that we can potentially see the rubrics and our learning strategies to help our students. Let's also get feedback from all stakeholders, including elective and core teachers, parents, students, and industry regarding what's important to them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rochelle. Katie Dreffs and Paul Reese is on deck. Katie?
Before I start, we have lots of elective teachers in the green zone today. So could I have those elective teachers stand, just stand, and be recognized? That we're all here supporting elective teachers. Thank you. All right. Hello, my name is Katie Dreffs, and I've been with the School District of Waukesha for 30 years. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the history of electives and what's being proposed now. So if you want to look up at the screen, prior to 2014, we had a 6-subject wheel where each one met for 6 weeks in 6th grade and at 7th grade. And in 7th grade, we were able to go deeper with the kids than just the first 6th grade wheel. But the best thing about that system was, if you look at the yellow, kids were able to try all 6 of the electives before they made any choices. So then in 7th grade, they were going deeper in each one of these, and they got to try another one another time before they made their choice. So the choices for the next year are made about halfway through the year before that. So they actually got to try all of them once and then 3 of them twice before making a choice. Then in 8th grade, they got to choose either a full year of music or world language. In order to get an AP credit for world language, students have to have a full year in middle school. Okay, and that's a key point. They could also choose elective classes, art, business, family and consumer ed, or tech ed, or a combination of a full year and a semester class. Okay, the kids loved this program, the teachers loved this program, the parents loved this program. Well, there was one teacher that didn't like it, but other than that, the parents always raved about it. So then in 2014, 2015, they switched the wheel to 4 9-week classes. And I just put these in alphabetical order. They could be in any order for the kids. So what happened with that was they had to choose their electives for 7th grade after trying only 2 of the 6 electives. Okay, and that made parents and kids really frustrated because they didn't know what to sign up for. Yes, they had choice, but they were kind of choosing blindly because they didn't have a chance to really try everything. So that made parents very frustrated as well, and a lot of them complained.
30
to the
seconds.
Teachers. Oh boy. Now basically what they are, I'm going to skip ahead, now what they're proposing will not only not let kids choose things on time, but it will also not let kids have a full year of music and world language, or they can have either 1 full year class or 2 semester classes. So that really limits them.
It's time.
So I will be back on December 3rd to finish my presentation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Paul Reese, and then Mary Beth Haas on deck.
Hi, I'm Paul. I am a parent of a 6th grader, and I just wanted to give the parents, she asked about parents' input. I'm all for electives. I can't stand the fact that we would do away with them. Foreign language is crucial to even understanding English language. I love reading this book. I read it all the time. It's written in 3 languages, Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. And to understand where those translations come from and how they come from, where they root from, it gives you the ability to understand what they're talking about. You know, they use words like temper and stuff like that. What does that word mean? You have to understand language in order to, and even history, to understand what they're talking about. And so I do not want to see getting rid of any type of electives, especially along those lines. I'm strongly in favor of foreign language. Last month, one thing that growing up, I learned a long time ago that there's 3 types of lies, damn lies, and statistics. And when I hear people tell me, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the superintendent's report last month when he said that, well, compared to districts this size, we're doing real good. What that doesn't tell me a lot. You know, he said in one of the scores we were heading up, but if you're on top of crap mountain, it still smells like crap. You know, I'm just, when you're using certain things in statistics, you're not giving me the full picture. You're not saying, he did say in one test score we were heading up. Well, that's great, but where are we? How are our kids doing? How literate are we? When my daughter started school, we were in Hatfield, and I had choice between Hatfield and I got into STEM. And I wasn't happy there. There was some things with other parents were bringing up about reading, you know, their kids not being able to read. And I said, I'm not going to have my daughter in this spot. So I took her out and I put her in Waukesha Christian Academy. Then we moved over to cross town because we wanted to get into Bethesda, but we couldn't. So now I'm in Bethesda School District. I'm off Madison Street and University. And Bethesda was a great school 8 years ago. It was a phenomenal school 8 years ago. It's not anymore. My property taxes, I pay. I was excited to get into that district because of the great school that it had been. And it's hurting right
30
now.
seconds.
And someone has to address that. The other 800-pound gorilla in the room is summer break. How much backwards our kids go over summertime. My daughter, if summer would come, she would hit Control-Alt-Delete. I have to get a tutor for her. I have to keep her going and focused and moving forward. Otherwise, she will struggle the first 2 months back into school. She will not. She's a marvelous kid, but she's so free spirit. She just wants to go at her own will, and she would just forget it all. So something has to be done about that. Anyways, or looked at it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Mary Beth Haas, followed by Ellie McHenry.
I liked your baseball comment because people that would know me in the community, my dad is huge into baseball, so I was on deck. That was excellent. My name is Mary Beth Haas. I live at 2832 Emsley Drive in Waukesha. I am here as a parent tonight. I have a 5th and 7th grader. I, too, am not in favor of reducing the electives and increasing the 8th grade literacy block. Electives are very valuable classes for our students, and literacy skills are still taught in these classes. The electives have helped my son explore areas that he may be interested in as possible career choices. I don't believe that adding an extra class hour of literacy will get at the root of the problem of some of the district literacy scores. I don't think it is as simple as adding one more class hour of literacy in 8th grade. When I came to this district, we had reading specialists who pulled kids out of class and worked with them individually or in small groups. We had library media specialists serving 2 elementary schools or 1 middle school. We've reduced these important literacy positions. We had read box books with comprehension questions and vocabulary. We had a spelling program. I thought the staff in these literacy programs were vital components of our overall district literacy program. In addition, students will miss out on taking more advanced classes at the high school level. For example, if a student doesn't have the opportunity to start Spanish 1 or French 1 in 8th grade, they would not ever get to AP Spanish 5 or AP French 5. Please don't reduce the electives for our 8th graders. My second concern is having the current 5th graders go to Blair School for 6th grade. Before I came to this meeting, I asked my son, who is currently a 7th grader, again about his family and consumer ed class, his tech ed class, art class, and more. For art class, he mentioned a clay project, and that was there was a kiln that was used, and I wonder if Blair School still has the kiln. Family and consumer ed, he said, well, it seems that maybe the cooking equipment could be taken to Blair, and this could maintain the curriculum of the class. But then he said, but Mom, what about the refrigerator? Tech ed seemed to be a different story. Projects that he made in 6th grade included a tic-tac-toe board. He said, I don't think the equipment could be moved from Butler to Blair. He made trusses. He did a wooden ornament, and he said, I don't think the wood cutting machine could be moved. He talked about computers with Inventor software, and he said, I don't think, or would they have computers there? I would like to hear how the curriculum for this class would not be compromised. Why is this so important? These electives are what help my son determine his classes in 7th grade and what will help him determine his classes in 8th grade. I listened to the Finance and Facilities meeting Monday night. A few of my initial questions were addressed. However, when this directly affects my child, I would like to hear specifics. And I didn't hear the specifics answered. I don't really know if it is cost effective for the kids to go to Blair or not. I also don't think it is in the best interest of the students to have to go to one school for a year. 2 different transitions will cause added anxiety. If a decision is made to send 6th graders to Blair, I hope specific questions will be addressed, not generalizations. I hope teachers are intricately included in the planning process. I hope parents are better informed. And most importantly, I hope the classes my daughter takes are not compromised.
Thank you. Ellie McHenry, followed by Jen Rath.
My name is Ellie McHenry, and I'm here to discuss teacher empowerment. There was an article in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel on November 11th that caught my attention. The headline was, after empowering teachers and brazenly teaching to the test, Oostburg schools rank among the state's elite. Since we were discussing the test scores as well in this district, I thought it was worth reading to see what they had done, and needless to say, anytime I see the words empowering teachers, I tend to pay attention. The test they were concerned with was the ACT test, but I think the method they used to raise their scores could be used for any high-stakes test. They did not reduce electives or increase literacy minutes, but the superintendent, quote-unquote, turned to the teachers for ideas. All of the teachers, not just some of the teachers. They rethought the whole business of education, and after 2 years, came to some surprising conclusions, one of which was that teachers should have more power to figure out how to teach their own students. They switched from a top-down model to an inclusive model, giving the entire staff a voice in how to raise test scores. And after 7 years, the results have been astounding. They rank 7th out of 374 school districts, ranking higher than Arrowhead. What this article seems to show is that solutions to lower declining test scores are not quick fixes. It takes time to really address these issues. It also takes everyone to do it effectively. Teachers and other frontline staff need to be a part of the process. All of the staff, not just a few, need to be part of the discussion. The current middle school proposal is a top-down decision. Most of the middle school staff were not consulted at all. Many of the staff members who were named on the PowerPoint at the last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting were not even aware that their names were on it. Some of the middle school staff were told the school day would be increased to accommodate more literacy minutes. Others were told electives would be decreased. Clearly, we need to improve our communication process so that everyone is involved and on the same page. Raising test scores is not a quick process. It cannot be done by addressing one grade level. We have to look at the big picture, just like Oostburg did. We can do this, but we need to do it together. And if Oostburg is any indication, we need to empower our teachers. After all, they are the ones who are on the front lines every day. At the October Teaching and Learning Committee meeting, there was a presentation about the new high school math curriculum. That presentation is a prime example of what can be accomplished when staff is given a
30
voice.
seconds.
The high school math teachers got together and went over all the standards to see which ones were being taught more than once and which ones weren't being taught at all. After several meetings and lots of work, they came up with a model for the new math. It is going to be piloted to work out all the kinks before it is given to all of the students. It was inspiring to see what can be accomplished when everyone works towards a common goal. Empower the staff. We can do this.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. Jen Rath, followed by Sarah Vandenhovel.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Rath, and I teach world geography and French at Butler Middle School. And I am also here tonight to address a proposal regarding the reduction of elective minutes in 8th grade from 5 semesters to 3 semesters. I'm sure we all agree that we would like to see our students perform better on the forward exam. However, do we want to just do something, or do we want to do the right thing to address this issue? The current proposal assumes that an increase in instructional minutes in literacy will lead to better test scores. Without research backing it, and with only 2 data points, this assumption seems a bit arbitrary. We could attribute our drop in test scores to many things. Maybe the drop is due to the fact that student homework is no longer included in their grades. Maybe it has something to do with our adoption of iPads 7 years ago. Perhaps the drop has to do with the changes in the literacy and math curricula in the past 5 or 6 years. Or it could be influenced by the fact that 8th grade is the first time our dual language students are mainstreamed into English-only classes. My point is, there are so many possible reasons that making a large-scale change without diving deeper into why the test scores are lower than we'd like seems a bit premature. In the past, the district has voiced a commitment to increasing student choice and attracting and retaining highly qualified staff. Several years ago, we abandoned the wheel system of elective offerings that Katie was talking about, with the stated intention of giving students more choice. Now, just a few years later, we're going to flip-flop and give students fewer choices in their 8th grade year. To give you an idea of the significance of this change, as was stated before, 8th grade students would no longer be able to take a year of band or orchestra or choir and a year of world language. They would have to choose one or the other. This plan would also have devastating effects on staffing, with each of the elective areas down 0.2 to 0.5 FTEs. Most elective teachers are specialists in their field and are not certified to teach in other areas. Therefore, these reductions would inevitably lead to cuts and/or travel between schools, which is an undesirable job condition that may drive many teachers away or prevent qualified individuals from choosing SDW as their employer.
30 seconds.
I ask you to consider this. Are we acting with purpose, or are we acting just to say we did something to address the problem? The plan was formulated without the opportunity for staff, parents, and community members to voice concerns or make alternative suggestions. Why don't we take the time to perform due diligence and assess the many variables that enter into student test data, as well as solicit the voices of all interested parties before making a drastic change to the structure of our middle school program? Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Sarah?
Good evening. I wear a lot of hats in this district, former student, teacher, and parent. So I just want to be clear that it's my parent hat that I'm wearing tonight. I currently have a 7th, a 5th, and a 2nd grader in the district. My purpose in speaking tonight is to share my wonderings about the current discussion about adding additional minutes to the middle school schedule, as well as how all of the instructional minutes will be shared between core and elective courses. I really believe that we need more time as a district to look into this need and to consider all of the possibilities and the ramifications of the potential choices before us. It is my understanding that both the elementary and high school schedules have been lengthened at some point within the last several years. These additions were made to allow for more instructional time and flexibility in the day. Why has middle school not been given that same gift of time? Instead, the schedule has had to be adjusted to allow for the inclusion of the state-mandated academic and career planning program, as well as other programs like Second Step and Too Good for Drugs. These are valuable and necessary topics to learn about as middle school students, but any student of algebra will tell you that you have to balance an equation to solve it. I believe that there needs to be more time in the day to meet all of these demands, in addition to the requirements of the CLM literacy model. If time is not added to the middle school day, the proposed plan is to shift minutes away from elective courses and designate them as core coursework minutes. As a parent, I am really struggling with this possibility. I know that the test scores seem to indicate a need for more core time, but the richness of middle school is exploration. It's a time to try out new things, discover new passions and talents. It was part of the rationale for moving 6th grade to middle school 10 years ago, because we could offer them opportunities that did not and could not exist at the elementary level. My 7th grade son is eagerly looking forward to taking both music and a foreign language next year. How do I tell him he may not be able to do both of those things? What will the long-term implications be for high school marching bands, FBLA programs, students looking to earn AP credits for foreign languages, and more? Will our students be career and college ready? What we really need is more time to make this crucial, informed decision for our students. The district is just at the cusp of beginning major renovation and improvement projects at all 3 of the middle school buildings that are also looking to change their schedules. These renovations are happening because of the referendum that was passed successfully in the community. This success occurred because the district spent over a year and a half getting input from all of the various community
30
members that would be affected, and when all of the parties agreed that this was what was best for students, it passed. I believe that we need a similar approach to allow parents, students, and staff to weigh in on the use of time. We don't want to rush this decision, especially because these buildings will also be under construction and are spread across 2 campuses, which will be incredibly challenging for the families, teachers, administrators, and other staff members in those buildings. I know there is an increased cost for busing and staffing potentially with the inclusion of more minutes in the middle school day, but I believe there's an even greater cost for students if we don't consider all of the alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the Board of Education tonight? Okay. Please state your name and address, or fill out one of the forms. Yeah. Welcome
Kimberly
back.
Coronado. Yes, hi, thank you. My name is Kimberly Coronado. I have 4 students in Waukesha School District, 1 in every level. I'm here to talk about mental health, as always. 20% of our youth ages 13 to 18 live with a diagnosed mental health challenge. 1 in 5 students have a learning disability, which will not be mitigated by more time. It will take explicit instruction and choice of that instruction to mitigate that. This means 6 to 12 students in every single classroom of 30 students are affected. If a child can do math, speak 3 languages, or receive top grades, but cannot manage their emotions, practice conflict resolution, or handle stress, none of the other stuff is going to matter. 93% of teachers report they are concerned about their students' mental health, yet they do not have the training or expert knowledge to support them. Currently, in the mental health system, as it is, it takes a minimum of 8 to 10 years of symptoms before interventions take place. This is 70% of a student's educational career. Think about that time and all the opportunities that are missed. What if we help students earlier? What is Waukesha School District doing to increase access to mental health services for our students, staff, teachers, and families? What are your strategic plans to keep students and teachers safe within our schools? In the first week of school, there was a teacher injured in our school district. We need to do better. In the last school safety meeting, crisis training was discussed. My response is that providing crisis training should not be the only tool you provide. It should only be used as an emergency plan, as it only trains staff to seclude or restrain students, which causes more long-term trauma to students, their families, and even causes death to some students. I challenge this board to look deeply at root causation for the achievement gaps, for low attendance. I ask you to collaborate, to cooperate, to innovate, and envision strategies that are proactive, restorative, relationship building, and solutions that ensure everyone is safe in our schools. I implore you to teach teachers, to train resource officers, to empower students with resiliency and mental wellness, and share power with parents, develop teams, get their input. We need to do better for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Anybody else in the audience that would like to address us? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to our minute approval. There are 4 sets of minutes for approval. Our October 9th, 2019, we had regular Board of Education. October 9th, there was an executive session. October 10th, there was an executive session for an expulsion panel. And then on October 28th, we had a special Board of Education meeting to finalize our budget and levy. Is there a motion of approval?
So moved.
Moved by Corey. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bumgart. Discussion? Okay, Sue, take the vote, please.
Corey Montiel,
Yes.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0, Sue. Moving on to our communications. Dr. Gray.
Nothing this evening.
All right. Diane, do you have a report for the Waukesha Education Foundation?
Yes, I do. Thank
Excellent.
you, Mr. President. The Waukesha County Community Fund launched a new funding program at their Giving Forward breakfast held at the end of October. The program features a Fund the Next 5 project for Waukesha Education Foundation. This project will let people donate to fund the next $5,000 of grants that fall just below our funding line each year. I shared in June that we had $154,000 worth of innovative staff ideas, and that we were only able to fund 22% of those with $35,400 worth of grants. Melissa Baxter and our grant committee shared that concern with the WCCF, and the Fund the Next 5 resulted. Fund the Next 5 is set up like a GoFundMe kind of account. It's a link to the WaukeshaFoundation.org caring catalog, and that gives them an opportunity to be involved in 14 different community programs. They're listed here. The Waukesha Education Foundation is number 14 of 14, but that's okay. We're in the list, and it was so successful that at the launch on that breakfast, we raised $270 before people left that gathering, and the window stays open until December 20th to be able to get involved in the caring catalog. So we're going to launch a social media campaign for WEF for Giving Tuesday. That's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving and Black Friday that falls on December 3rd. And you'll be look for information about the opportunity to get involved in going to WaukeshaFoundation.org/caring catalog and making a donation between now and the end of December. I want to definitely thank all of the staff in the School District of Waukesha for supporting Go Casual for a Cause for Waukesha Education Foundation. As of November 7th, last week, we had raised $10,620 through that campaign. And I think that's just amazing. Thank you to all the staff for being involved in that.
I think those little videos that Sue puts at the bottom always gets people excited.
The next activity.
Sorry, Diane.
That's all right. That's good. I think they're very motivational. On Saturday, December 7th, the district will be running its annual enrollment event at North High School from 10 to 1. And the Waukesha Education Foundation 2018 grant recipients will be showcasing their grants after having a year and a half to put them into action. Besides the 2018 Grant Showcase, all of our schools will be present to be able to share what they offer to the many great programs in the School District of Waukesha, and with lots of fun activities for the kids to enjoy. We've been planning the inaugural evening for education for many months, and tomorrow night it's going to be happening at the Ingleside. We are most appreciative of the community's support that has allowed us to sell out with approximately 250 tickets sold. Many great silent auction and raffle items have been collected, including an amazing farmhouse kitchen table that was built and stained and prepared by the STEM Saratoga students and staff and donated for our silent auction. I'm quite excited for the many opportunities that are included in the fundraising event tomorrow night, and I'll be sure to report back next month on its success. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Diane. Moving on to our charter school and program report given by Mr. Bumgard.
Yes, just a couple items tonight. The first one deals with summer construction. At a previous meeting, I mentioned that I was visiting a number of the schools that had construction projects over the course of the summer. Despite a few glitches here and there, things generally went quite well. Near as I could tell, the staff has been very satisfied. I'd like to just give an example from an unsolicited feedback from one of our teachers, and it's pretty much a quote, but maybe a little bit of a paraphrasing here too. With all of the problems and concerns about the construction, I have landed in a better place than I was in before. And I think she was referring physically to a better place. They got my art room done very right, and I am pleased. Thank you. And, when you talk to the staff out there, you'll find out there's one after another has been very pleased with what went on. Again, aside from a few glitches. Okay, and then the other item I have deals with the Engineering Academy, WEPA. I was not able to attend the meeting last evening, but I did communicate on two separate issues. One was passing on the board accolades, and this is an assumption made by my part that the rest of you would agree with this, but quite simply, for the very good academic results that our students at WEPA have shown in their ACT program scores, and the state report card of this is always a tongue twister, significantly exceeds expectations, and WEPA came in very strong on both of those. The second item, quite simple.
They have for many years.
Yes, they have. It's
in a row.
It's repeated, yes. Good job by the staff. The second item was a little bit more specific thing that I wanted to follow up on. That was I've asked them to let me know how they are doing in maintaining a solid governance board because some of the governance boards need to be a little bit supportive. STEM has done a wonderful job just in the last month or two re-energizing the people on their board, and I think the same is going to be true at the engineering. I just thought it's time for me to ask. So that concludes my report.
Hey, thank you, Bill. Moving on to our consent agenda. Darren, were there any gifts given to the district this month?
Yes. Waukesha North High School received a 1996 Toyota Tercel and a 2001 Acura TL estimated value of $750 from Kendon Paul Bauer. These vehicles will be used for demonstration purposes for Autos 1 and 2 courses. Waukesha South High School received $600 from David and Heidi Bauer to be used for the wrestling program. And the last gift, Whittier Elementary received $1,000 from River Glen Christian Church to be used for gym equipment.
Thank you for those gifts. We appreciate them. I'm always stunned by the generosity that our community has, and that really shows the support that they have for our schools. So thank you very much. Your agenda includes various categories for approval this evening. If any board member wishes to have an item set aside for separate consideration, you'll have that opportunity to do so in a bit. Included in the items for the approval are the decisions of the expulsion panel, which met on October 10th, 2019. A confidential communication regarding the details of the expulsion was in your Friday board packet, along with the minutes under item number 1H. If any board member wishes to discuss this item, we have scheduled an executive session at the close of the regular meeting. Approval of the consent agenda confirms full board agreement with the expulsion panel's action. Does anyone want to have an item set aside for out of the consent agenda for separate consideration? Okay. Kurt is not present tonight. Amanda, will you please read the consent agenda presented for us?
Earlier this evening, the Human Resource and Compensation Committee approved of 3 resignations, 2 retirements, and 3 new or modified teacher contracts. This information was provided in your packet, and an addendum was placed at your desk. I move that the consent agenda be approved as amended.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCaffrey. Any discussion? Okay, Sue, please take the roll call vote.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek. Aye. Corey Montiel.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Amanda Ryan.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0. Thank you, Amanda.
Mr. President, that concludes the report.
Moving on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Gray, Dr. Gray.
Thanks. Our state education conference is normally held in January, so that's coming up. The dates are January 22nd through the 24th. It's in Milwaukee, and if you've attended that before, you know that typically on those days, Milwaukee becomes the coldest city in the nation. It just works out that way. It's true. But in any event, if you are interested and you are encouraged to attend, there's a form at your desk, and get that to Sue, and she will register everyone for the various events. So there's some preliminary events and some events in the evening that are always interesting. So if you see any of those you want to go to, Sue will take care of the registration.
And I just support that. I've been going to this for many years, and if you haven't had a chance, I know others here too as well, but it really is a worthwhile conference. If you have the opportunity to go there, Corey, being new, if you can get into it, it's very valuable. You'll find out some interesting things. There's so many sessions you'd like to get to.
Yeah. Right. Okay. First thing at your desk is we did a chart basically on some of our success with the report cards, and I think this is probably the strongest year we've ever had in the state school report cards. And you can see there we have many of our districts who significantly exceeds expectation. That's the highest award you can get in the state, and the second highest we exceed expectations. And you can see there that literally almost all our elementaries and middle schools have landed in those 2 particular categories. And then for meets expectations, a big congrats to Whittier, who jumped 7 points to make that level, and Horning with a 9-point gain. That was our biggest gainer this year. So those 2 again have moved up a category as well. So again, a very strong showing. A couple of our schools just barely missed it, and I will say again, South barely missed it, but again, they have a number of students pulled out of their test scores for the 2 academies, and if those were included, they would have met in one of these top 3 categories as well. So again, very good news. Once again, we ranked 3rd out of the largest 10 districts in the state. Last year, number 1 and 2 were Eau Claire and Kenosha, and our goal was to beat them, and we did that. But unfortunately, Madison and Sheboygan snuck up there as well. So Again,
They didn't beat us by much, though.
No, we were, it was a strong showing for the district. And the reason I use the top 10 is those are the most comparable school districts to us. We are the 7th largest in the state. We are more than double the size of any district in the county. And given our demographics, we are very, very comparable to these particular districts. Now on the back page, we just got this in, some good news from Avid, and you can see our success ratio with students who are in the Avid program in terms of completing FAFSA applications, applying to four-year universities, and the acceptance rate is fantastic. And then when you include both two-year and four-year universities or trade schools, we have 100% acceptance.
I mean, that's actually amazing. I mean, keep in mind the avid students, or the original target essentially was those children who may go to college, but probably not. And to see this level of acceptance, up to 100% in this range here of different stats that we just have seen, that's incredible. I mean, to consider that a student probably wouldn't even be going to college, is now going to college. Yes, Bill? You've seen this program from the beginning, so. Turn your mic on.
Sorry. The reason that they might not have gone to college is not one of academics or anything like that. The reason is they would not have had the experiences in their family of attending college. This would be a first time. Very often it would be the first time in that family for somebody to go on to post-secondary education. Also, just having the support necessary both academically and socially to attend, to consider going to college. And that's been a very, very positive result.
Increasing the awareness of what it's about.
Right.
And then actually having the chance to improve in various areas to really lift their game up. And it's really amazing how education becomes super important in their lives as they are exposed to the AVID program. And that's what's really impressive.
There's also a number, it's not on here, and I haven't seen it this year, but the number of kids that go to college and finish is very, very high in our AVID program. It's the typical
it's one thing to get in,
that goes
it's
to
another
college
to finish college.
More than half do not finish. These kids are in the 80-90% range for finishing college. So it's a wonderful program, as you can tell. I just love it.
And that's why we are expanding it literally district-wide. Now, we aren't having our elementary kids apply to colleges yet, but we are using a lot of the concepts.
That's good to hear.
Well, maybe some should be. But we're using those same concepts that have helped the middle and high school kids be successful with the AVID program as we are in the elementary. So that's growing. Not everyone is there yet, but we will continue to expand that each and every year. So the next item is, and this is a graph that actually the DPI had sent out, and it's based on this year's school report cards, and you can kind of see the impact that demographics, especially students who are economically disadvantaged, have on that card. So this is a cross section of the entire state, and you can see there as the scores tend to go down, you're seeing higher and higher percentages of economic disadvantage in our students. And we've literally, for a couple of years, we had a decline in the percentage of economic disadvantage, but for 18-19, we had a slight increase of about 4%. But irregardless, even with the our small increase in that particular demographics, as well as minority demographics, we continue to shine on the report card. We are up 25 net points among our schools. So again, very, very good showing for the district.
Congratulations.
That's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Some good news there. Moving on to our committee reports. This is where a lot of the heavy lifting is done. It's at the committee level, and we rotate which committee presents first. And first on deck this month is the Technology Committee, given by Mrs. Boyd.
And I have nothing to report.
Okay. Do you have another meeting set up at this time?
Not yet.
Or working on the next agenda?
Yep.
Gotcha. Thank you. Moving on to Finance and Facilities, given by Mr. McCaffrey.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had 3 information items and 3 discussion items at our meeting. The first information item was the monthly budget update. Revenues and expenditures continue to be within budget limits for both the general and special education fund. The district is also operating in accordance with our approved budget in all other funds. Our next information item is the referendum project update. Darren Clark and Jason Sadowski, principal of Butler, presented on the decision to move Butler 6th graders to Blair for the 2020-21 school year. To allow for the projects related to the referendum. Though cost is a factor in this decision, the relocation plan will more importantly provide a safer and more efficient solution when compared to adding 6 to 10 temporary classroom trailers. The 6th graders were chosen as the grade to move, as they have not yet been to Butler. This grade level's academic programming can be more easily moved, and it allows for the most efficient use of district staff. So the plan for utilizing Blair as the primary topic during our committee discussions, it should be pointed out that all school district of Waukesha, middle school, and South High School families will be impacted by the construction over the next 18 months. We thank everyone in advance for their understanding and patience as we work to update our facilities. In the weeks ahead, the district will be communicating with families related to the work that is ahead of us, beginning with construction prep work that will begin over the upcoming Christmas break. We also have a presentation that we'll do after my report for any questions that any of the board members might have. My third information item is the 2019-2020 budget. Sherry Stack presented the 2019-2020 budget and how our declining enrollment affects our revenue limit. Our open enrollment continues to be positive, in large part due to eAchieve, but the open enrollment outs are rising faster than the open enrollment ins, meaning our net total has decreased slightly. It was also noted that the district has the second lowest mill rate for the 2019-20 school year in the county for K-12 districts. The discussion items, the first one is the budget projection assumptions. The committee reviewed and discussed the assumptions that will be used in developing a multi-year budget projection. The findings of the projection will be shared with the committee in early 2020.
This is a discussion item, so if anyone has any questions or input on those assumptions, similar to what Mr. Clark had done. Is this your second or third year doing this? I'm losing track of time on
Fourth year.
Fourth year. Gee,
Yeah.
I'm really losing track of time, Darren.
I was just telling Sharon I'm struggling with 2020, so we're all.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay. Patrick?
All right, my second discussion item was the budget calendar for 2020-21. The committee reviewed the timeline for the development and approval of the 2021 budget. Any discussion on that?
It takes us a whole year to work on the budget, as you know, so we're going to start in on it right away.
And my last information or discussion item was the tax incremental financing for Town of Waukesha Tax Incremental District Number 1. The committee discussed the tax incremental financing plan provided by the Town of Waukesha for Tax Incremental District Number 1. A representative from the Town of Waukesha will be invited to the December Finance and Facilities meeting to help us better understand what is being planned. In the meantime, the district will request that the town of Waukesha not proceed with any approval until more information is available. And the mayor, Sean Riley, was also at the meeting on Monday and made some comments. That's also a discussion item, so.
Bill?
This is the first time we've seen this, I think, isn't it? What area are we trying to talk about? I'm trying to read this map.
It's the area anything that's in color basically is.
Oh, all of the
what you're
various
looking at.
colors?
Yeah, and the yellow is residential, the red is almost all of it is current existing. There's very little raw land there, but it's primarily that area.
Okay.
Are there questions or comments? Okay, Patrick.
That concludes my report, but as I stated earlier, we have a presentation for the referendum, the move to Blair, if we have any questions, so.
Yeah, Jason and Jeff, they were at our finance and facilities meeting, and we just thought it would be important for the rest of the board to also see this presentation and have a chance to ask questions.
Joe, just also we have Kate Egan from Bray Architects here.
Oh yeah, Kate, come on up, Kate.
Stottleman, to answer any questions. We're going to spend a lot of time on the Blair decision, but we're also here to talk about any questions you might have with the rest of the work that's scheduled for the next 18 months. We're hoping for the middle schools in South to get the bid documents out right after the first of the year. So this is really kind of the board's chance to really ask any questions because we get into finalizing instruction documents and everything to go out in the bid documents rather soon. So
thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. So even though this is obviously not ideal that we're coming to you for looking for a reallocation for students that are coming to Butler, we feel like this is kind of a needed area, and it's just kind of explaining why. So it's over the course of the year, a minimal of 6 to 10 classrooms at any given time will have to be vacant for them to do construction throughout the course of the year. So at any given moment throughout the course of the year, that's going to affect 150 to 270 students that we don't have a place for because those classrooms are not, we don't have classrooms for them. As many of you know, Butler is closed to student choice, and the reason for that is because we don't have space. So we don't have extra classrooms, extra space that we can split up in half or anything like that to move some of these around. And again, a minimum of 6 at any given time throughout the course of the year. So the solutions, so we ran across possible solutions. 6 to 10 classroom trailers on the school grounds. Now, mind you, this is in addition to having zones of our grounds going to be covered with, that are going to be off limits for construction. We have buses and parking zones that we are going to have. So this is on top of all those factors. Relocate a group of students to Blair for the 2020-2021 school year only, and do construction over the summers and breaks only, extending another summer or two of construction. We had a brief discussion with that, and with advice, it's not cost efficient to do that. With a lot of at the end of the summer, you're wrapping the construction, they wrap things up and they have to start over again, and you lose a lot of time, you lose a lot of manpower to do that, and the cost efficiency of that is not very, you lose a ton by doing that. So we then weighed across classroom trailers versus reallocation to Blair. The classroom, and we're looking just the positive sides for this. All students located in one segmented campus, but they're all in one campus, so they're all together. All supports are all in one campus, and no additional teacher travel. And I say additional teacher travel because currently we do have teachers traveling from building to building within the district, but with having this, wouldn't be any additional to that, to what we normally currently have. Relocation to Blair, and I highlighted this as safer, more secure, because this was the big selling point for when I presented this to our Principal Advisory Council, is that they were all about the safer. This is safer for our students. All classes are indoors, less disruption due to construction and movement for classrooms, and then lastly, most cost efficient. The classroom trailers, I believe, were around $750,000 to $1 million for just the classroom trailers. And again, where do we place them on the campus as well is a big challenge. So that's what kind of leaned us towards moving to Blair piece. So again, to reinforce how is this safer? The trailers, where they're out on the campus somewhere, out on the campus, having that security out there, it's a lot harder to guarantee that. The security at Blair would be the same way we ran it last year. Which is also the same thing. It's almost exactly the same as what we have at Butler currently. All doors would obviously be locked. Cameras are throughout the building. Required to buzz into the main entrance, and then all visitors go through the Raptor system. So there's no shortcuts to get into any kind of classroom, which that's the downside of when we had the trailers. Why sixth grade students? They have yet to have ownership to Butler yet. So most of our electives can be offered with very little adjustments in sixth grade. When they get into seventh and eighth grade, now we're talking some major complications with major equipment. All students stay in one building for the whole year. We're not worrying about traveling back and forth for any type of classes, and creates the least amount of staff travel between buildings. Again, referencing that from previously. Our instructional model would remain the same, so we'd be looking at a middle school instructional model at Blair. So it would still be Butler students. For better terms, they would still be considered Butler at Blair campus, and we can talk about the name per se, but that's the whole idea. Special ed service would remain the same. We're talking about a few adjustments because of the ability to have some additional classrooms over there for some students that may struggle with having some construction or changes of classrooms throughout the course of the year. Phi-Ed, this is probably one of the, when we get into electives, we see a little bit more of changes. 1 to 2 classes at a time. Currently, we're running 3 to 4 classes at a time, and that's just due to size of the gym and gym availability. This is the other part, is no changing into PE uniforms. And this is a discussion we actually have at the middle school level every year, do they need to change? Music, we don't foresee any changes in the music. Electives, this is something that actually starting tomorrow, I'm meeting with the elective teachers to have this discussion on what this looks like for 6th grade, and then other discussions as well, and what kind of adjustment needs to happen, what kind of equipment do we need to see if we can bring over to Blair, and what adjustments they can make. Excuse me. Staffing will continue to be determined on the same formula that we currently use. And it will still be based off of one school. Again, it'll just be based off of Butler staffing, so we won't be referencing 2 different schools. Again, focusing on the least amount of travel for staff in that. The one thing that we're still kind of looking at is try to maintain and focus our 6th to 8th grade to remain, dual language to remain at Butler, as well as Quest. These are 2 multi-age programs, so the whole idea is that they start at 6th grade together and they intermix with the 7th and 8th graders. So those we are still able to maintain. We most likely will be able to maintain and not lose classrooms or not need to send them to Blair, because we'll have enough space for those students. Food service, similar to how Blair has run it previous years. Satellite kitchen, food catered from another site and brought to Blair. Busing, this is one of the big questions, is what does this all look like? Sixth through eighth graders would ride the same bus, so similar to what we currently have. 2 mile radius will remain still from Butler, but we'll also extend it as well to Blair for the 2020-2021 school year only. Morning will start off by dropping off at Blair first, and then the 7th and 8th graders will then be transported over to Butler. In the afternoon, same thing. Blair will be picked up first, and then they'll go pick up the Butler students. And the reason for that is this last bullet. So we thought this through a little bit more. Is we really wanted to make sure that the after-school activities were sixth graders still had those opportunities for after-school activities. So they'll be transported from Blair over to Butler at no additional charge, whether they ride the bus or not. Any of those things, all students that are participating in activities would be transported. And from my understanding, there will be no additional cost to that on the district's end. The library, we have yet to talk about the physical aspect of the library over at Blair. But then one of the aspects we do have is any book in the district can be checked out through our Destiny program and delivered to any school within 1 or 2 days. Furniture and technology supplies. Furniture will be moved from Butler to Blair. It's got to go somewhere, number one. Number two is it would be no difference if we remove it to a trailer. So it's the same concept. There's also furniture that's currently at Blair that has not been needed, so we can utilize some of that. Any technology that our sixth graders currently use, we can move that over to Blair. Supplies that teachers need, again, can be moved to Blair. And additional supplies that are normally purchased throughout the course of the year, that would remain the same process that we currently have. So there would be no limitation to what teachers get. Parent communication plan. Excuse me. So again, through our Butler Principal Advisory Council, Butler will remain closed to student choice. All current fifth grade parents in Butler's attendance area will receive a mailed letter informing them of this change, social media information, both from Butler as well as SDW. And then we would be having a parent information night, and that date is yet to be determined.
Joe. Just to add one thing onto the safety and security aspect of this, we currently have an SRO stationed at Butler full-time. That SRO next year will be split between Blair and the Butler campus to cover all of those kids. So, we're not prorating that officer down because there'll be fewer kids there. And that's something that will help enhance the safety there at Blair. And I thought that
was one of the new ads this year, right?
Yes.
From middle school. So, all right. Questions, comments? Yes, Corey.
Thank you, Mr. President. This generated a lot of discussion and questions at the FNF meeting this week. All of you were there, and you were very patient with my questions, mostly, and I appreciate that. I just want to hit the high points. I won't make you do all that again. I'll reiterate what I said last month. I was not a fan of this plan at all, not only just from being a parent with a daughter who will be one of the students, it'll be directly affected, but just the idea of having to have rising sixth graders go to a school they never thought of going to, the anxiety and all those other things that come with it. And I think what I said, not to quote myself, was I needed overwhelming evidence to show that this was a necessity for safety, and an overwhelming evidence that this is financially absolutely has to happen. I wish I could say that those things were not presented to me and that I could still stick with my original story, because I still don't like the idea. But that I spoke with a lot of people. You, four of you, were very good in explaining the processes that you are anticipating, dealing with having the students have ownership with their school that they're going to be a part of and are a part of, even though they're at a different campus, the safety issues, the cost. I have racked my brain. I've spoken with a lot of different people. I know the other board members did too. There are no other options that I'm aware of. Do I wish it had to happen? No. But does it have to happen? Yes. Just the safety concerns. Having 6 or 7 classrooms, trailers out there. I know there's some talk about having hallways built, and it's just funneling. It's just, I think it just has to happen. And I've been impressed with the details that all of you and your staff have put into this. I think giving the students, and I think you brought up, or one of you did, about giving the students ownership, letting them talk about it, talk about a possible rebranding of Butler a little bit, make it exciting, make it new. So yeah, I've come around. Unless someone comes up with a better idea in the next short period of time, I don't anticipate changing my mind. But I was glad to see the inclusion of everybody. Your site council I know is important. I'm glad to see that you're relying on all those resources. So yeah, I've changed my mind.
Others?
Can I just add an issue? I mean, we talked about the trailers, but I mean, realistically, that is not an option. And I've done this in other districts. Each trailer has to be on a cement pad. It needs water, sewer, heat, electric. It has to meet all life safety codes, fire codes. And then when you're talking about 8 trailers out on the green space to get approval from the city, that's probably a far bigger issue than $1 million+ dollars. So, and then once you're done with the trailers, there's another huge cost to dispose of them. Used trailers, I will tell you this, are not sellable. You're almost forced to give those away. And in my experience, often those trailers are not temporary, they become permanent. If you've ever been behind Whittier until this year, that trailer was that was a horrible mess. And that's what you're looking at. So, I mean, irregardless of costs and of the other logistics, getting city approval, I don't think they would do that to the neighbors in that area because that's a residential area. So I think the 2 options that are given here are Blair or doing the project over 2 summers. And if you do that, the cost is going to be such that you're not going to be able to do all the project that we promised the taxpayers we were going to do. So that you're really basically down to one option, and that's the one that's presented tonight. So,
Mr. Barnhart?
A couple easy questions, I think. Right now, Montessori is renting space in Blair. They will be out of there in time to start the planning and moving.
Darren, you want to talk to that?
Yeah, that lease was strictly for this year. I don't know if it's June 15th, the end date for that lease to end. And we entered into that lease with them, and we had discussions with them that this could become a possibility of our need for that space. So that's all.
It's all set.
Yep.
The other question, not that I'm encouraging this, but with the other 2 middle schools, can people open and roll into them, or are they going to be closed down also? Do you know?
To which ones? The other
2
middle schools?
Horning and.
I thought we had planned on closing those but there is
they're
potential.
both going severe construction, and particularly at Les Paul, right?
Yeah, so we've looked at that, and we're discussing that. The issue that we run into is for those families that already have a 6th grader going to be a 7th grader, a 7th grader going to be 8th grader, and they have a 5th grader then going into middle school. Say they choiced from Les Paul to Horning, from Butler to Les Paul, whatever it might be, you then have families that would be stuck with 2 drop-offs. And so we wanted to be sensitive to those needs of the individual families where they have already accessed choice for an older sibling.
Mhm.
And that's why we may keep it open going into next year.
For
When you look at the
situation.
shuffle of students around, we're not adding anybody to a point of where the building, the classes are at capacity.
Okay.
There's still room for the move. Where it does get a little tricky, and when we look at pickup and drop-off, where Les Paul, when we're doing the cafeteria, it may add a little bit of parent traffic in and around Les Paul, but given the amount of traffic that's going to be there already and the sizable construction work that's going to be going on, it's something I think we can live with.
And by the way, I appreciate this. I think this is good, valuable information for when we get questions, which means if you can make copies of that and put it in our packet, I'd appreciate it. At least I would.
That is one of the reasons why at FNF we talked about popping it up to the full board, because we know that FNF weren't going to be the only folks getting questions on this. So, yeah, good point, Bill. Karen.
Thank you. A couple questions. One, And a comment. Thank you for all your planning and everything that's gone into this. So, did you think that this was going to happen when you were starting to plan and walk through and kind of visualize everything that the teachers and people were saying that was needed? Were you thinking, we are going to need space, where are these kids going to go? And second, you guys have built other schools and done renovations and all sorts of things in other districts. What do they do with their students that need to be moved?
To your first question, I think, at the course of the prior to referendum, we're usually not that deep into the plan development to understand everything that's going to happen and go through the displacement of classrooms. So I can't say that there was a detailed plan like there is now for how we were going to move people throughout the building then. Your second question, I'm sorry, was what do other districts do? I would say in comparing the work at this district and specifically at Horning and Butler, the work at those schools is pretty intrusive as compared to other districts. We haven't encountered a lot of districts that do as much work as you're doing as a renovation at a middle school level. We have done temporary classrooms like Dr. Gray talked about. The cons that he outlined are viable cons. I can't say I've had a school district that was able to relocate. Most school districts don't have an extra vacant building to move people to. So when the option came up, it was something that was brought up. Beyond extending the construction schedule through, a longer duration, I can't say that there's a lot of other options.
I actually feel that we're pretty fortunate that we have Blair in the mix. As an option to consider. Greg?
Jason, could you tell me if you have any major concerns in duplicating the core instruction or extracurricular activity, elective instruction at Blair compared to what it currently is existing at Butler?
I think the only thing would be is the elective pieces is making sure that we can provide them, as much elective opportunities over at Blair that we can currently at Butler. Like I said, I'm meeting with my elective teachers to see what we can do to make sure that we can provide that. And that's one of the, in the forefront, that's one of the decisions is they do a lot of projects, but the type of projects they do are on a lighter scale than what 7th and 8th graders currently do. So that's where we're saying is, are we talking large machinery? Are we talking some small machinery that we can move over there and, potentially shift things back and forth? And like I said, I need to have that talk with my teachers first.
Okay. And then just another question. You have up there parent information date yet to be determined. Is the average parent of an existing 5th grade student that would be attending Blair next year knowledgeable of any of this that's happening?
Not as I couldn't. I don't know how to answer that one. I don't know it just right now.
Okay.
We actually at our F&F meeting pointed that out, Greg, that we believe that communications needs to be strong with those 5th graders. I think we're still at that. We had just approved this recently, so we're still trying to gather, make those plans for the communications. But that was echoed quite strongly by the F&F committee on Monday, that the communications need to be absolutely strong for all parents, not just the 5th grade parents, but they are probably not as exposed to this as maybe some of the middle school parents are already. So
a lot of this has transpired probably over the past 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
So it's still on the very early stages of it. So a lot of people we're able to more or less keep people alert of this is under discussion, but we don't have many details for this at this point.
And not only a parent information night, but it would also be question and answer where parents could ask specific questions and hope to get answers. To those questions as well. And then I would think open houses, down the road? And
Right now, I'm open to any suggestions of what, families would need, want, communication, yeah, and if it means multiple, information night, question nights, we can do that. I think it's important to make sure that our families are in the know of what's going on and the why behind it. I know it's easy to say we're just moving our students to Blair, and trust me, I don't want to do that. We don't want to do that, but as I laid out, the reason why we're going that direction, it's turning into a have to versus a, oh, this would be nice kind of thing.
Sure. Thank you.
Karen?
Yeah, a couple of things. One thing at the meeting, Greg, we were talking about fun things that the students could do, such as making some type of time capsule, something to put in the wall, just being creative and maybe picking out colors or something like that, something to get them involved in the process, because that's going to be their school and it's not going to be long before they're there. And so kind of like when we do construction or renovation at home, I just knocked out a few walls in my house and was washing dishes in my bathtub, and the vision and like the end project was my hope, like, okay, it'll be done soon. And so if they can have drawings or renovation plans on the walls and they can kind of be a part of the process. Okay, this is done. Okay, now this is done. Something so that it goes faster and they feel a part of it, not like they're an island out there. And another thing, I remembered when I was in elementary school, we had maybe 1 to 2 kilns for the district that I was in. And we didn't have a kiln in every school, so they had to transport our pottery in some way in a van, I don't know, and then very carefully fire it and bring it back. So I'm sure that there are ways to do that, and I'm sure not every school has a kiln because they're really heavy and expensive, but just as one of our speakers was talking about, I'm sure you'll hear all those ideas and those fears and be able to be proactive about them. So that's it.
Yeah, I think as Corey had brought up ownership, kind of along the same theme of inclusion that you were talking about, Karen, is the rebranding of Butler. I thought that was something that if you guys could elaborate a little bit on it for this group as to what your thoughts are there.
So part of this transformation with this renovation piece is one of the things as a leader here is we've tried to have a logo for Butler, but there's been so many different type of logos and brandings out of what Butler is. I want to say there's at least 10 to 12 out there. So part of this, we're taking this opportunity because some of the signage around Butler, the colors, all that kind of stuff, we want them to sustain time, and we don't want to have this lingering 3 or 4 different type of logos. So part of this process is also rebranding Butler. We're going to have a distinct logo, letterhead, all those kind of things. And part of this process is having students have a voice in what that is. So we're in the process of working with a couple different vendors on getting proposals of what that could look like. And then moving on from there. Also as part of the ownership piece, as part of the, and a few of you talked about it, is during the construction process, as students will be able to do certain things that puts them as a ownership of the building, or something that 20 years later they could say, hey, if you pull up that rug over there, my name will be underneath it in that portion of the building, or something.
Or on an I-beam, or
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of different things, and whether and we're talking all students, so 6th through 8th grade students, over the course of the construction time. So even if they're not at the physical Butler building, we're still going to bring those students over to be part of that, because they are really part of Butler. And we want to make sure we identify them as Butler students.
One of the things that we also discussed is we have a unique opportunity if we use the Blair space for our 6th graders in talking about that rebranding. Every year, part of the middle school transition is you have incoming 6th graders that you try to acclimate to what it is to be a Butler student. And so we go through that every year. With our plan moving forward with the construction and how we're moving students into the building, the 6th graders who would be at Blair would come into Butler as 7th graders, as well as incoming 6th graders who will be new that year. And that gives us a unique opportunity that 2/3 of the students in our building will be learning what it is to be a Butler student and to be at Butler Middle School in its new and improved state.
Any other questions?
I just want to ask, I know I've heard a lot of issues on the elective type courses. And just a reminder that we're still in the district relatively new with sixth graders having electives. We had sixth grade in the elementary school up until 2010, and they had no electives. And I still think they managed to do pretty well in 7th and 8th grade. So I don't want to de-emphasize the electives at all, but I'm just saying that, if they don't get the full 100% elective experience like you might with a 6th grade and middle school, I think we'll still be okay. I think, I have no doubt that the Butler folks will make every effort to make the electives as inclusive as they would be at the school.
Just one other point that I would wish that Jason and Jeff would talk on. And by the way, you got another great tie on, Jeff. Doc Davies used to be on this school board for a lot of years, and he was a children's dentist, and he always had spectacular children-oriented ties. So anyways, if you could talk on shared leadership a little bit, how's that going to work? Who's the principal? How's this working?
So Jason would still be the principal of Butler Middle School, and really Butler Middle School would just exist on 2 campuses. We would have the main campus and we'd have the Blair campus. I would be at the Blair campus to run the day-to-day, but it would work no differently than what we currently operate, how we currently operate. We're down the hall from each other. We would just be a few blocks further, but we consult back and forth. We have a unified message when it goes out to staff. We share our student services staff. So in terms of the shared leadership, we would be acting as one campus. That's one of the main reasons why we really were trying to be strategic with even our co-curricular activities of making sure that we're not running extracurricular activities at both campuses. They're happening at main campus because that's where extracurriculars happen. So we're intentional about that. We would still, instead of walking down the hall to talk with Jason or vice versa, it might be a phone call. But in terms of that, we would run as one campus.
Anything else?
Just add for the board to keep in mind and for parents or anyone who's watching, a lot of attention is being drawn to Blair, but there's not a middle school over the next 18 months that's going to operate the way it has in the past. Next semester, Les Paul's cafeteria will be a gym and the servery will be a classroom. Horning next year will have 3 temporary classrooms in their auxiliary gym, and teachers in 1-month segments will be moving in and out of there throughout the school year. Butler, we're doing the biggest renovation in the way the building lies out. It just so happens, and their capacity issues, we don't have as much flexibility. But none of our middle school families next year are going to have the same experience that the families the year before, or once everything's done, the experience those families will have. So it is a global, it's pretty odd for, usually middle schools in my experience are the level that are kind of forgotten in renovations. They don't have the glamour of the varsity sports and the cuteness of elementary kids that we all adore. So we have a slightly different approach, but we're going to need a lot of patience from a lot of people to pull off the amount of work we're doing. So.
Okay, well, thank you for coming back to the full board meeting. You were here on Monday, and appreciate all the insight that you provided for the plan. So.
Very good.
Pat, did you have anything else?
Nope.
For
Our
F&F?
next F meeting is December 9th at 5:30 in this room, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Moving on to teaching and learning, given by Mr. Dietz.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last Teaching and Learning Committee meeting was held on November 5th, 2019 at 6 p.m. There is 1 action item, 1 information item, and 3 discussion items that appear on the agenda for teaching and learning this evening. The 1 action item pertained to the approval of Math Vision 2020. After 2 years of looking at our high school math outcomes and course pathways with a group of high school math teachers, a recommendation was made to develop a new math vision. This new vision, Math Vision 2020, looks to realign the mathematics course sequence into an integrated math model, which brings Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 together into multiple courses based on standards instead of the 3 separate courses based on content. Multiple work teams of teachers are working with Dan Paczynski and Dan Kieser on aligning standards, developing supports for students with an IEP, English language learners, as well as students who struggle or need acceleration. On a vote of 4-0, the Teaching and Learning Committee approved Math Vision 2020 as presented. We request board approval at this time, and so I move.
Is there a second to that? Second by Amanda? Discussion. Bill?
Yes, having taken my math probably longer ago than anybody else in this room, initially I had some concerns about this, but it really made sense after a while, from two perspectives. One, the flow is better. It's not silo after silo after silo. It's congruent. And I felt positive about that. It gives the kids more opportunities, the way they approach their math, beginning to end. And one of the concerns I had was, where are the colleges in relationship to this kind of a program for math? Turns out they're ahead of us. So, I mean, not all of them. Some of them are ahead of us. So this makes sense to them as well as to me and to the kids. And I believe strongly that this is a good move.
Questions or comments? Okay, so we're looking to approve the Math Vision 2020 as presented. Sue will take the roll call vote.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Corey Montiel.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye. Passes 8-0, Sue.
Moving on to
Please.
our one information item, which was Social Studies curricular update. The state of Wisconsin recently adopted a revised set of standards for the teaching of social studies. The Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction is engaging districts in a 3-year process to roll out the standards and revise curriculum, as well as assessment. For the 2018-2019 school year, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction focused on preparing the knowledge, skills, and dispositions around key shifts in social studies instructions and standards. During 2019-2020 school year, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction will support districts with leadership development to design curriculum. In the fall of 2020-2021, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction will focus on the revision of the state forward assessment in the area of social studies. Next are 3 discussion items. The first discussion item was the Baking for Culinary, WCTC transcripted course. Information on a new course proposal for family and consumer science at the high school level, Baking for Culinary, was presented. This course would be in the culinary arts pathway following culinary arts or chef foods, and will be a transcripted course with WCTC. Approval to add this course will be requested in December of 2019.
Any questions or comments on?
I just have one comment. Through my work with Waukesha County Business Alliance, I've had numerous discussions with folks like Paul Deckers, who is our county board chairman. And over the years, we've addressed the community or the business needs for manufacturing, construction. But Paul has mentioned that the hospitality industry is also looking for skilled workers as well. And I think this really meets that criteria. So not only is it a good course for kids, but I think it's a great opportunity to have kids, when they graduate, leave us with a employable skill.
Awesome.
Well, wasn't, I thought 11% was the growth in that area from year to year. So that's a huge amount of growth, 11% growth in job opportunities in 1 year in that area. That's huge.
Yeah, and like manufacturing and construction, they're having trouble filling jobs as well. So this is a great opportunity for kids.
Corey.
Yeah, thank you. Just briefly, the paths to success for our students are many. There is a tendency, at least in my background, to talk about college and ACT scores and academies. Those are all great things. But success is not just down that path. It's also career. And I know everybody in this board I think, well, I can't speak for you, but it's been talked about before. I just want to reiterate that that's an important path. It's a great path, and this is adding to it. So I was pleased to see it. I think it's marketable skills that will be in demand, and even if students who take this course don't end up doing that as a profession, it's a great thing to know to do. So glad to see it.
Anyone else? Yes, Diane.
I think another thing that definitely is worth noting is the fact that it is a transcripted course. So it's another one that gives our students a head start towards their further education. And as Molly had shared, we had equivalent of 2,507 credits earned by our students for a value of $346,883, which is an amazing statement for the value of the electives that end up giving those kinds of transcripted credit opportunities.
Okay.
Okay, Greg.
Okay, sounds good. The second discussion item dealt with middle school instructional minutes. The middle school administrative team has been examining the entire middle school schedule, including starting and ending times, course offerings, delivery models, team structures, and philosophy, and the desired learning outcomes as part of the review process. Initially, the administrative team was looking at adding additional instructional minutes or adjusting starting or ending times at the middle level. After researching the additional cost of this adjustment, the team is no longer pursuing this approach at this time due to budgetary costs. Another option the administrative team has been examining is the fidelity of instructional minutes throughout the middle school day and across the grades. Currently, 8th grade has a different scheduling structure as compared to 6th or 7th grade, which creates some discontinuity when it comes to instructional practice. The administrative team is looking to move forward with adjusting the 8th grade schedule so that it is aligned with the 6th and 7th grade schedules as they move towards a true middle school model. This discussion item comes from extensive work and research around the middle school models, including the input and work with teacher teams and Dr. Rettig over the last 2 years. In addition, the administrative team researched local districts and their utilization of minute allocation, middle-level models, elective opportunities, and current achievement trends in our own schools.
This also is a discussion item? Yes, Diane.
I think we have to definitely note the discussion that we've heard tonight as some of the citizens have come to speak. And I've received so many phone calls and emails about the planned drop from 5 electives to 3 and the huge hit that would have on, I think, a tradition of offering choice to our students in that context. I think, as earlier stated, so many of the literacy concepts can be taught in the electives, and learning to utilize that kind of mix, the opportunity to learn grammar better through a foreign language, the opportunity to see applied math in a construction class, or even a cooking class, learning the fractions and those concepts. I think we can't not look at the opportunity to learn those skills in electives. It doesn't necessarily have to be in extra minutes in the elective, in the structured core classes to be able to teach those concepts.
Corey?
I echo Ms. Voigt's comments. One of the things that caused me concern in hearing the public speak was the discussion or the pointing out, I think it was Ms. Raff, who said that the staff, the parents, and the community members were not given an ability or the opportunity to voice their concerns. I don't know if that's true or not, but the fact that that has been brought up, maybe it's perception, maybe it's true or not, I don't know, but I'd like to see that addressed because I think everybody obviously needs a voice. So one of the more instructive things I heard was a comment that said the richness of middle school is the opportunities to try new things. So I think electives are important. They're not a second-class educational, they're not a second class to the main core courses. They're important. So I haven't reached a conclusion yet, but I would like to see at least the perception that certain individuals who are not included in those discussions be addressed. Perhaps it's wrong. I don't know. But I heard and I listened very well, so I wait to see how that's dealt with.
Jody?
Sure, I can at least address, Corey, your question about staff participation. The principals have had various meetings at different times with their staff. I'll just use Les Paul as an example because I know I talked to Rob today. He's on his second meeting since this summer, having a conversation with staff, and I think all 3 principals are using the same 4 questions. What do we value in a school day? Identify opportunities that a schedule change could provide. What are the opportunities to meet students' needs and strengths? Brainstorming about identifying top 3 priorities in an ideal schedule, and then identify pitfalls to any schedule. So Les Paul's on their second meeting. I believe their third is going to happen by the 21st of this month. So they are gathering input in various ways, either through survey or face-to-face with their teachers.
So it's occurring also at the other 2 middle schools?
Yeah, I just don't know the specifics about
You don't
when
have the
they're
details at the
doing
same
it.
level?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for that.
Amanda?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to echo both Diane and Corey here, and that I don't necessarily have a full decision yet on this. I'm still gathering. But my children are in an arts integrated school, and we proudly say that we're able to teach all of their necessary core materials through art. So, and I also have a middle schooler who is exploring. She's in their first year of exploring, and we're able to do that with the electives that she's taking. So I don't know if I had to decide right here and now where I would go at this point, still gathering all of those. But I too keep hearing, and I'm getting emails and phone calls from constituents stating that we are giving so much choice that sometimes can cause an issue, and then other times, I think it was described tonight, where we had the wheel and we broke the wheel so that we could give choice, but yet in reality, it wasn't giving us much choice as it was accustomed to. And so I don't know, there's just a lot of stuff going back and forth, and I had a point to this, bouncing off of what Corey said, and I completely lost it. But I would like to, I would like to hear more input from families, from the teachers. And my point or my question was, is there a reason that we're doing this now? Is there something that's pressing that we are bringing this forth? If the meetings with these other schools are happening later this month on the 21st or so, when are we voting on this? When will that input come to us so that we're able to make a decision? And I don't know who to address that to.
I don't know. I mean, I can only assume that there was a plan for December, but if that would mean that we need to do more work to make sure we've got the board convinced that this is the right way to go, we'll do that. I don't want to, blow this thing up because we are trying to run into a self-imposed timeline.
Well, one of the things that's driving this are board goals, achievement goals, and that is what the board has established, and we're trying to improve achievement. So that's part of the pressure. Whether the timing is of now is, it was a point that we need to improve. We were taking a look at a couple years worth of forward data that we were noticing that there was a drop-off at the 8th grade level. And we also noticed that we handle 8th grade different. But there's many things that I think that were brought up here tonight with our citizens' comments, and when you take a look at what we had discussed at the last T&L meeting, there's a lot of facets to this. So, but part of the drive is just achievement.
All right, I understand that, and I know that we as a board, we voted on that. I just want to know is there something saying that is there a particular goal other than achievement that why we need to vote on this in December? Is this, can't this be extended further so that, we can get more input on our
would have
decisions?
to ask.
I can answer that.
Yes.
Amanda.
Yeah, Jody.
So I think the timeline question, because we've mulled that over considerably, I think there is a course selection impact that we're up against, as well as then a potential staffing impact. So I'll be honest and say prolonging, in essence, action by the board wouldn't necessarily gain us anything. In my opinion, principals should and will continue to elicit feedback from their teachers, but that is the timeline that we're up against for student course selection.
So when is that January when we need to have that done by?
February.
What is February?
Is it February?
I think January is when they start. When's course selection?
February?
February is course selection.
Okay, so we
for
pretty much have
students.
to have things ready in January, though, because we have to publish it, and we have to get, all the information out to everyone. So I thought it was January where we have to kind of be making a decision here. I think Karen was up next.
So, as far as just extending the day, we've talked about, and so, okay, let me adjust that a little bit. What was the financial impact that is now off the table by extending the day? And then we've talked about putting elementary kids first on the bus and having them start sooner and having high school kids later.
That's really a separate discussion from this. I mean, that's the start and end time. This is, what we're talking about here is what happens during the day.
But can't we extend the school day?
That change in start times would literally have no impact on this unless we, significantly expanded the day for some of our schools, and I don't think that's what we're planning to do. So the start time issue is really a separate issue from this. That can happen with this, or it can not happen with this. So.
Okay, so if we need additional instructional minutes in certain core classes
Right.
to meet expectations to get scores up, and we gave them whatever it takes, 10 minutes a day or whatever it is, since we could put on the table looking at how many minutes, if it's 10 minutes a day for those
more than
middle
10,
school
yeah.
students, if that's being discussed, why couldn't we also, and that might cost money, and it will, if it's busing, why wouldn't we also discuss the other issues with the busing with the middle school, or with the high school and the elementary kids? Why don't we just look at all of that and figure out if that's possible?
Well, again, they're literally two separate issues. I mean, we could look at them all together, but I think you might start, confusing the issues. I am working with my parent advisory group on the start time issue, doing a survey. I hope to have that survey for teachers to take a look at sometime in December, and hopefully go out and potentially by January have the survey completed. But again, the start and end time, wouldn't impact curriculum. It wouldn't impact, what happens between the start and the end of the day. It would just be when you're starting or when you're ending. So you could put both of them together, but that might end up making more of a confusing situation. Some people might think, well, we can't start the day early because we have to do this, to get extra time for core subject areas. And I think that might be confusing to parents.
How much more time per day would be needed if we kept the electives in those core areas? Like when I said 10 minutes and you said that's not enough.
I mean, I think the goal was to get 50 minutes a day additional for core subject areas. That was the goal through this plan is, I believe it was either 50 or 52 minutes additional
53
time.
additional minutes per day.
Yeah.
Redistributed amongst the core.
Among all core subjects.
Anything more, Karen? Okay, I think Bill was next.
Yeah, I think so. Looking at this whole picture, you think about things. One of the things I think we need to think about is why did Horning jump ahead by about 7 or 8 or 9 points, whatever it was, in the course of the year? They've done a significantly positive job at Horning. Something's going on there. We know that they're using the house program. I guess one of the questions I would have of the team is, and I think they talked about that at the T&L meeting, incorporating that method into Butler and Les Paul instead of the current schedule being used currently with the 8th grades. And at least that might be accomplishable in the next year. If the other things, as Amanda says, maybe we can't get that all done by beginning of February. I would think that let's find out why Horning had a big improvement in their performance this year, or really it would be the past year, and hopefully it's continuing this year, rather than starting to, and get at that quickly, rather than trying to figure out whether we're going to cut electives or or add minutes or whatever we're going to do, because that is more complicated at this point. That's just something I think we should look at.
Diane?
We're talking about making this decision for scheduling for next year, which would mean that our current 7th graders going into 8th grade would lose the elective opportunity that they had planned their, kind of middle school career, I guess you might call it. Like, that's really kind of changing the rules of the game real quickly. If those were kids that wanted to take a full year of math, or not, a full year of music, a full year of foreign language, and now we're all of a sudden saying they can't do that, if that was part of what they had, kind of looked at planning to do in their long-range plan. I think it's really a bad choice to try to ram this through without any pre-planning for, in the their scheduling and in their expectation of what their middle school years were going to look like.
That's a good point.
Yes, Craig.
I've just heard 3 consistent themes throughout tonight, as well as feedback from people. Greater input from staff, a deeper dive, go slower, take more time. Those are consistent themes that are being put out from all of us, and messages that have been delivered in various shapes or forms. So I just want to let everyone know that those are the things that I'll be looking at in making a decision as we move forward. I do also want to acknowledge the middle school principals for taking on an initiative, trying to look at something different. Trying to improve their test scores, trying to meet board goals. I mean, it's not easy being caught in the middle and having all those areas coming at you all at once. So, I think we do have some time on our side, and I'd like to see us continue to take that deeper dive and make the right decision for the long term.
Yes, Pat.
Is Dr. Reddick? Is that Michael Reddick from school? Yeah.
Karen?
So I don't want to be the one, or I guess none of us want to be saying, okay, we need this goal, but we don't support anything that it's going to take to get there. Like, I just don't know that this is the right way to get there. So I guess you just have to show me, at least me, that this is going to produce the outcome that you're saying. I feel like we had an idea about the grading a while back, and the homework not counting, and that whole discussion, and that was a great idea, and then I don't know as if it was, but anyway, that's my opinion. I know that some people are passionate and want to help the situation. I just don't know that, where's the data that says this is exactly what we need and that it's going to have the impact that we are looking for.
Now keep in mind, this has not just been a topic for the last couple weeks. How long have we been working on this, Jody?
Yeah, I mean, Karen, to your point, absolutely, right? If I want to say this will not be the silver bullet, right? Because if it was, everybody across the state and the country would be signing up for this. So it certainly won't be a silver bullet. I think from the team's perspective, it's one way to get at the student achievement, right? Just one way. Some of the top 5 things, as Bill mentioned, that the scheduling teams discovered was that teaming and common planning time were 2 of the top sort of 5 priorities that they wanted to see in some scheduling modifications. And then the longer literacy block was something that they wanted to be able to achieve as well. So I'll just say that this will probably always continue to be a work in progress. I was just looking back at some historical conversations with this board, and very emotional conversations around electives in general have happened with this board in 2015, 2016, 2018, and 2019. And each one of those meetings, if you look back at the board presentations, for a good reason, have been met with emotions around elective areas. So it is a matter of priority. We want to try to be equitable across the board. This is just one way that we're looking to equalize minutes at the 8th grade level, to make it more consistent with 6th and 7th grade in order to have fidelity to a literacy and math model that we know is effective, but needs to have more time at the 8th grade level, which currently does not exist.
Was that enough for you, Greg?
Yes.
Good discussion?
Got it.
I think the discussion is going to continue next month at TNL.
No doubt.
No, you have one more point to discuss,
do.
right?
For our third discussion item, we received an update on our most recent ACT data. As part of the Wisconsin State Assessment System, the ACT is administered to high school juniors in February of each year. During the presentation, the results of the 2019 ACT administration were discussed.
Any questions or comments? Where did WEPA come in? Number 2 this year?
No, actually, they I think
They've been
below the top.
They've
They're
been
not in
number
the top.
1 in ACT before too, right? Or am I just thinking of the
Oh, you mean
report
talking
card?
about the report card score or the ACT?
I was talking about
don't-
ACT, but I might be remembering
They
the
usually
report card.
compete for 1 or 2 with Tesla Engineering Academy of Appleton, but I'm not sure. I mean, they're way up there. I mean, they're generally, in that top level.
WEPA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant
They're not in
yeah.
the top 3 anymore, and I think they're in the top 10.
For the report card score.
Right.
For ACT, though,
The 88
I think
point
they've-
something, whatever that
Yeah,
is.
no,
That's
it's
report
ACT.
card.
But
ACT, though,
ACT
they've
score, I
been-
think they're one of the top in the state.
I have that number someplace. Oh, it's not with me.
Yeah.
25 or 26.8 or something
Yeah.
like that.
But I mean, they're
very high.
usually battle it out with Tesla Academy out of
Yeah, they're very
Appleton for
high,
1
but-
and 2. So
For top honors,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Anything else for Greg?
President, that concludes the Teaching and Learning Committee report for this evening. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019, here in the boardroom.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving on to safety and security, given by Ms. Reinacek.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, there are 4 information items on the agenda. Update on status of school safety grant. The district has completed all outlined work in the school safety grant and have submitted the necessary quarterly project reporting to the Department of Justice. Next is the facilities safety improvement update. Currently, administration is scheduling renovation work for the 3 middle schools, which will include secure entrance work, as well as an addition of a secure entrance at South High School. According to the current construction schedule, abatement work will begin over the holiday break in December 2019. Construction of the addition projects will start approximately April 15th, 2020, or whenever the frost is out of the ground, which I hope is a lot sooner than that. The goal is to have all projects done by the start of the 21-22 school year. We then have our workplace safety update. Kevin Miller with M3 Insurance provided an update on the district workers' compensation loss experience. Waukesha's experience modification factor is 0.88, which is below the average for school districts in the state of Wisconsin. Therefore, the district received a discount due to the favorable modification factor. The factor did increase from 0.83 to 0.88 in the last year. However, the increase was due to a few claims with higher damage amounts, not an overall increase in the number of claims. And last, we have the NVCI training update. The district provides nonviolent crisis intervention training for staff on how to respond when students become dysregulated over the course of the school day. Currently, there are 419 staff members trained in the district. 22 classes will be offered during the 2019-20 school year, a combination of foundation and refresher courses. 5 district staff members are certified trainers and authorized to provide the training. The next scheduled Safety and Security Committee meeting is January 20, 2020 at 6 p.m., and you should come just because that's a cool date. This completes the Safety and Security Committee report.
I like the promotion there, Karen.
You might have 20 treats for you.
Okay, moving on to Human Resources and Compensation Committee, given by Amanda tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Earlier this evening, the Human Resources and Compensation Committee met and had one item for approval and one item for information purposes. The item for approval is the 2020-2021 school calendar. The recommended 2021 school calendar was provided in your packet. This calendar was presented to the Superintendent's Advisory Committee for professional staff on October 16th and to the Superintendent's Advisory Committee for PTO leaders on October 28th for feedback. A few things to note about the calendar are that there are 5 professional learning teacher workdays scheduled for the last week of August. The new teacher welcome is August 20th. The first day of school is Tuesday, September 1st, 2020, and the last day of school is Wednesday, June 9th, I almost said July, June 9th, 2021. Sorry, guys. There you go. You got your extended minutes. The last day. Problem solved.
A new
Okay.
proposal.
Whew, okay, I'm tired. Sorry.
Got it.
The last day for teachers is Thursday, June 10th. Mr. President, I move to approve the 2020-2021 school calendar as presented.
There's a second to that.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. McCaffrey. Discussion.
I just want to express some full disclosure. When Sharon and I presented to the parents, there was some concern on the 2 Mondays in January, but in order to respect the PD and the workday for the teachers, as well as respect Martin Luther King holiday, which most of the districts in the county have off, we tried everything to make it work. And to do anything different, we would have ended up with one semester that I believe Sharon had 9 more days than the other semester, and that just would not work for many reasons. So we spent, I think, a whole afternoon going through that, trying to look at how we could eliminate that particular issue. I mean, it wasn't widespread people against it, but the concern was brought up, and I just wanted to be transparent on that.
Questions or discussion? Yes, Diane.
I think it's important that this does recognize the spring breaks alignment within the area, because I think that's something that we've been working toward the last couple of years, and that's an important factor to be included here.
I do really like your approach, Amanda, to solving multiple problems with one motion. That is great.
Yeah.
Right.
Pat?
Just a quick note that in committee we talked about the graduation date for
calendar as well, which
Yes.
is not listed.
Yeah, it's not on the calendar. Some calendars we have it on, some we don't, and we're going back and forth between June 5th and June 12th. Is that correct, Sharon? We're just not sure on graduation day, but June 5th is a possibility because we would have enough instructional minutes in if we chose to do that.
Depending on weather.
Depending on weather, yes.
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 Snow days.
You're talking about, we may have snow days, ice days, cold days.
I think they're almost here, but yeah, no, I mean, last year we had
extend
5
out.
days and we were able to, fortunately, we had enough days built in that we were okay, but I mean, this year is already shaping up to be worse than last year, so.
But we have some.
Notice you've been in training the last week or two, yes?
I know I have,
Very good.
yeah. There's 2 days I did the 3:45 a.m. thing because when they say 4 to 6, 6 hits the warning level, so I do get up to make sure that we're not there. So fortunately, the forecasts have been wrong, so.
They're playing with you.
I know.
Any other discussion or comments on the 2020-21 school calendar? Okay, Sue, take the roll call vote.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
Corey Montiel.
Aye.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye, passes 8-0, Sue. Amanda?
Thank you. And our one item, information item, was the review of $75,000 early retirement benefit. The committee reviewed the current $75,000 retirement benefit and analyzed if the majority of the retirees use the retirement benefit prior to the 8-year limit. That's it?
And that's just
It's
an
an information item, yes, sir. Our next meeting will be held here at the Lynn-Home on December 11th at 6:15.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to policy. Bill?
Good evening. And considering your long evening that you've had, we purposely planned for just one policy to be discussed tonight. And if you believe that, we do only have one this week. The policy is a new policy 6630, which we read to you a month ago. Cash handling is quite simply providing oversight for the handling of cash that is received in district operations. Specifically, the policy requires secure storage and retention of sufficient documentation to audit and verify the proper handling of such funds. As I mentioned, this item is first reading in October. It also follows with suggestions we received from our auditors. So I would like to move for approval of the policy as presented.
Is there a second to that? Second by Diane. Discussion? Okay, Sue, take the roll call vote.
Karen Reinacek.
Aye.
Amanda Roddy.
Aye.
Diane Voigt.
Aye.
William Baumgart.
Aye.
Corey Montiel.
Aye.
Patrick McCaffrey.
Aye.
Greg Dietz.
Aye.
Joseph Como.
Aye. Passes 8-0. Bill?
Thank you. I have no information or discussion items. The next policy committee meeting is scheduled for November 19th in this room at 4 p.m.
Thank you. I actually, when the agenda was put together, I called up Sue
Yeah, he
to
was
make
in a
sure that
panic.
this was actually correct. And she called you just to make sure. We thought you were pulling a fast one on
Well,
us.
you know, don't get used to it.
Thank you, Bill.
There's more coming.
Moving on to other business, are there any recommendations for future Board of Education meeting items to be agendized? Or for committees, too? All right, and we do not have a need for closed session,
We do
correct?
not.
All right, well, thank you, everyone, for coming out on this cold, early winter evening. We stand adjourned.